Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today we're going to be looking at Breguet watches, the entry level for them on two different doors, you might say. One is the sports door and the other door is the dress door. But first what I want to do, I want to take a look at this beautiful Blancpain watch from Don Haynes. This is a 50 Fathoms, and it was originally developed for the French Navy in the 1950s. And it's a true driver's watch. It comes with different kinds of bands. The one that Don has is a fabric band, which I like. This is a great summertime band, and you can use it actually for diving. The uh, the watch is 45 millimeters, and it's a big watch. Don's a big guy. Used to be a football player, and the caliber 1315 is a self-winding caliber in it, and it's got a 120-hour reserve. That's about a 5 days reserve that it has. It's good size movements, 30 millimeter movement. Inside of a 45 millimeter case, it's a lot of that is the rotating bezel around it of that 45 millimeter that'll bring it out somewhat. It's got 35 jewels. It's got this wonderful scalloped guilloche coming out of the center of the dial. And then it has, at 4:30, it has the date window, which I happen to like. And the date window, or the date itself, is that an angle that's parallel to the two indexes that sort of surround it and sort of come off of the scalloped beam that comes out of the center. So anyway, this is a neat watch, and Don, I want to thank you for sharing it with us for the Watch of the Week. Now let's take a look at the entryway to Breguet. And there are two doors. Behind door one is their sports watch, and behind door two is their dress watch. These are for entry level only. And so let's take a look, first of all, at the Type 20, the Aéronavale Type 20. Aéronavale is for naval aviation, and this is what it was developed for back in the 1950s. And the watch itself is a typical, in certain respects, of what you'd expect with a sports watch. But it's not a diver, and it's not a one that was developed without something in mind. And what they had in mind was flying. And so the subdials they have, and this was for a number of different things. It's used in navigation, and it's not very much anymore, because with GPS you don't need a lot of these things. But one thing that you do need, you need a really good timekeeping of how much fuel you have left. And so you don't measure it in gallons, you measure it in terms of hours, at least in civil aviation. For airlines and so forth, I'm not sure what they use. I didn't fly those kinds of planes. I did see a guy, though, who tried to stretch a trip from Cabo San Lucas all the way up to Mexicali and ran out of gas, and 4 people on board, one of them died. So timing is very important. Okay, so what about this? All right, you have first of all, you have the main ones, the main dials, and you have the 2 hour hand and minute hand are what's called a syringe shape. And the second hand, thank goodness, has a Breguet hand. At least the top part has that little moon on the hand itself. There's the 3 subdials. You have the seconds, and then you have a minute and an hour totalizers. The hours are at 6 o'clock, and the minutes are at 3 o'clock. All right, so let's take a look at the what else about it. It has a bezel, a graduated turning bezel for setting timing up of some sort, and then you can shoot off your chronograph for doing that. The movement is a caliber 582, which is a Lemania caliber 1350 plus the flyback function. Now, a lot of people say, well, Lemania, that's ETA. Yeah, in a way it is, and in a way it isn't. Lemania was around before ETA was even invented, really. And Lemania had made the Omega, Man on the Moon movement. So it's not a bad movement at all, and it's not little more than an ETA. So anyway, it's 39.5 millimeters, and that's not huge. To me, it's a good size. I sort of 38, 40 are my favorite sizes, and so 39.5 is right in the sweet spot as far as I'm concerned. It comes with either a leather gaiter or a metal bracelet. It doesn't come with a rubber because it's not a diver. It's for pilots. The back of it is solid. You have a solid back with say Breguet Type 20 on it, and they're on Naval. Now, just a quick little history of this before we get into the price. In the 1970s, they came out with a model called the 3807, and the 3807 had this one with blue with a metal bracelet, but then they had a exhibition window. They only made about 1,000 of these, and if you can find one and you like the exhibition windows, this one is one that has it. It's also relatively scarce. They only made about 1,000 of them, so the price is probably going to be a little higher than your more modern ones. This is sort of one of the original ones, what the pilots, Navy pilots, were working with initially. And that's what the backs look like. Now you can see that they have been upgraded. There's an additional subdial, and unfortunately they lost that sort of that onion-shaped crown, which I happen to like a lot. But it's anyway, it's got a little history to it, so it's an interesting watch. Now the price on these, walk into the AD price is $9,500, but I found them in condition 0 for $6,500, and so you can find some really good buys, and this is why I think that the Type 20 is a good entry level. Used, I found them, and again, this is from so I was looking for something in the 2000s, in the 21st century market rather than vintage, and they ran about $4,000 was sort of the floor for looked like a good one. Okay, so excuse me. All right, so that's one of the ways that you can get in. I think in a relatively inexpensive, I'm talking $6,500 or even $4,000 isn't chicken feed, but you can get a heck of a good watch. It beats some of the other ones. Okay, now let's take a look at this. The next one I want to look at is their dress watch, and what I'll call their entry-level dress watch is the Classique. And the list price, the latest list price that I found this was $21,000. Okay, it's a beautiful watch. It has Breguet hands, a very nice guilloche on it, and the hands are blued. And the Breguet hands, you can spot the Breguet hands because they have the little moons on them. The case is 38 millimeters, and it comes in rose gold. This is the newest one. Yellow gold and white gold. Now the price on this Classique is, like I said, the list price was $21,000, but I found a new one in condition 0 for $9,000. This was the low end on that, and also for a 21st century one, I found a pre-owned one for $4,000. Now, here's the irony, okay? Whether you like the sports model or you prefer a dress model, and like I said, I prefer dress models, you can get a pre-owned one for the same price for either one of them, even though the Classique starts off at $21,000. Like I said, the pre-owned one, this is for a gold watch. It's a pretty good deal, really. And it's a kind of watch that's, I would say, equivalent to the Vacheron Constantin, Patrimony, the Patek Philippe, what's that, Calatrava, that kind of watch. It's clean as a whistle. It's a really beautiful watch, and it's a Breguet. There's something about a Breguet, I think, that is to me anyway, it's special, mainly because I always think, well, it's Abraham Breguet, but of course he's been gone for a while. The back of the watch, you can see it has a beautiful, I mean, that's one of these watches that you can, I'd wear backwards. It has such a beautiful movement to it. It's really gorgeous. And they sort of had these little wavy lines around the back. So anyhow, okay, well, this was the entryway to Breguet, and this is for people who say, gee whiz, I'd really like to get into high horology, but I don't have that kind of money. And but one of the things you can see, you can get either into Breguet, either with the sports or with the dress watch for as little as $4,000. Okay, so all right, well, listen, naturally, I'd like to get your opinion on this, what you think, whether you think those is a decent buy or not, and any other ideas you have. I'm always open to listen to them. And by the way, too, if you can, please try and enter our contest that we're having for the, what's it called, the Grand Prix picks. All right, that's all for now, and hope to hear from you. And this, as usual, is an invitation to subscribe. This has been Bill Sanders for Watch Art Science, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.